Hello students, welcome to the lecture on managerial writing, and after the lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Explain the writing processes in managerial writing, define the business letters, inquiries and circulars letters, describe quotations letters and orders letter, discuss on acknowledgements, executions letter and complaints letter, understand claims, adjustments letter and collection letter, describe banking correspondence letter and agency correspondence letter, explain bad news and persuading. Let's start with the brief introduction to managerial writing. Written communication is a powerful management tool. Writing skills are most effective when used in conjunction with effective interpersonal communication. It took me a while to learn, but the efficiency of documentation continues to make me effective and efficient. Written communication is very common in business situations, so it is important for small business owners and managers to develop effective written communication skills. Some of the various forms of written communications that are used internally for business operations include memos, reports, bulletins, job descriptions, employee manuals, and electronic mail. Examples of written communication avenues typically pursued with clients, vendors, and other members of the business community, meanwhile, include electronic mail, internet websites, letters, proposals, telegrams, faxes, postcards, contracts, advertisements, brochures, and news releases. Ironically, the importance of good writing skills in the business world has become more evident even as companies rely increasingly on computers and other new technologies to meet their obligations. Now let's talk about writing processes. Learning to write is like learning to read. Both follow a sequential process. Writing requires and combines more basic skills than any other subject area. Taking into account the developmental stages of children, educators teach writing through a series of steps that build on a child's learning experiences. Children are not natural-born writers. Young children are usually eager and willing to scribble their ideas on paper. Even at an early developmental stages, they are becoming writers. Parents and other caregivers encourage the excitement of writing in their child by being interested and involved with the writing process their child uses in school. The first step in the process is gathering. Good writing begins with good reporting. The writer must find the details that reveal meaning. We cannot writing. We have to have facts. Next, decide which of our facts are most important and place them in a logical order. Discard all facts that do not flow from a focus statement. Like a blueprint, each story needs a plan. Each point should grow from the previous point and lead to the next one. Poor organization loses more readers than anything else. For the reader, the easiest thing is to stop reading. After we have written, edit our story to make it more powerful. Make sure that we have written what we intended to write. Read it aloud to someone, take a break, then come back to it and revise. Be merciless in removing anything that does not belong. This process is not necessarily a straight line from gathering to revising. The writer will go back and forth, including other facts as she is revising or changing the order as she gathers. A key point to remember is that much of the work in writing a new story is done before the first words are put to paper. Planning. When we are presented with a topic for a paper or the opportunity to choose a topic, ignore the reflexive need to set down a formalized outline that takes us from thesis to conclusion in a straight line. Most skilled writers do not lock themselves into a single path or goal, allowing themselves the freedom to discover new ideas during the writing process. Consciously or unconsciously, writers begin by generating ideas. Search our memory banks and external resources for an angle that feels right, something that clicks for us. What do we already know about a topic? Is there a sentence or a phrase that we have read in our initial research that intrigues us? When we have an idea or where we want to go, start typing. Worry less about the detailed facts and figures we want to present. Type in a sentence or two that will precede the quote or figure we want to present, then move on to the next logical step. Organizing is a crucial part of the writing process because it is frequently where we find ourselves making new connections. Now we should start thinking about our goals. Do not focus solely on what we want to say, but also who we are writing for. That is, appeal to adults who are returning to school and what format we are hoping to end up. What we will end up with is a network of goals that will guide not only the content of our paper, but the processes we will use to complete the project. Translating, drafting. Once we are comfortable with what we want to say and have some basic ideas down, we can begin drafting the actual paper. In reality, what we will be doing is translating the information that we have stored in our long-term memory and the notes we have compiled through research into a cohesive text. If we are stumbling on a specific point but find ourselves anticipating another, hit return a few times and promise ourselves that we will get back to that point later. We may find that what we are mentally formulating about the topic we are excited about will lead us to make the best way to make the troublesome one. Evaluating. Take frequent breaks to review what we have written. We may be surprised by something that it reveals and where it can take us in the rest of the paper. Do not be alarmed if what we discover changes the goals we had settled on. By being aware that each word we write helps shape the rest of the paper we help, ensure that the final product is a coherent and cohesive representation of our idea. Stage model of writing. Create goals. Formulate and outline a means of getting from here to there. Write based on the outline, reread and revise the finished product.
I'm going to show you how I write a blog and show you some strategies that you can use to improve your writing. Before we begin, I want to emphasize something really fundamentally important to becoming a better writer. Writing is a skill, and therefore it can be improved. It's a common misconception that writing is a gift, and it's easy to see why. Usually, we only see a finished product, a great blog, a brilliant novel. We don't see the hours and hours of effort that were put into them. Good writers use strategies that help them achieve success. I'll show you a number of useful strategies, but it's up to you to make use of them. Like any skill, improving your writing takes time and practice. As much as I'd love for you to watch this video and be magically transformed into a brilliant writer, it's not going to happen. But the good news is, if you put in the effort and believe in yourself, with patience and persistence, you'll improve your writing. And that really is great news because writing is such a valuable skill. Regardless of what career you choose to pursue, writing is a primary form of communication with your coworkers, bosses, clients. I was a programmer, not a job usually associated with writing. And I was constantly writing design plans, test plans, bug reports, professional emails. Taking the time to develop your writing skills is time well spent. Great writing can help you win awards, get jobs, and advance your career. Great. So now we've established two things. Writing is a skill that can be improved, and there's value in writing. This particular assignment is to write a blog, but the strategies I'm going to show you are applicable to all sorts of writing and other activities, so let's do it. Before I start working, I always do two things: get comfortable and reduce distractions. Writing is a slow process that requires concentration, so I change into my comfiest clothes, go to a quiet place where I won't get interrupted, and shut off anything that might distract me. TVs and phones are productivity and quality writing killers. Instead of getting my head into what I'm writing, I'm constantly texting and emailing, Facebooking, tweeting, glancing at the TV, so I just shut them all off and I mentally prepare to write. Research shows that students have the lowest confidence in their ability to concentrate when there are distractions around.
Let's discuss business letters. Business letters secure, promote, and maintain business without complications. Business letters serve as a reference for the future. Every organization should have to classify its outgoing mail and incoming mail and file them classified on the basis of their subject matter in a chronological sequence. Business letters serve to maintain the correct information of the organization in the perception of the receiver. Business letters establish and maintain contacts over a wide area, truly enlarging the scope and extent of business. Business letters can be used as legal documents in disputes. All business letters promote goodwill and enhance the prestige and the image of the organization. We can enumerate the functions of a business letter. Promotional functions. Business organizations have to grow and enlarge, improving the quality of their products by producing new products and providing better services. The customers have to be kept informed through letters these developments. Informational functions. Business letters provide valuable data about earlier policies, transactions, and all other activities of the organization. Modern business cannot depend on memory as in olden days. Letters are ready references if they are available. Legal functions. Business letters can provide evidence in legal disputes, if any, which occur in a transaction. They are useful as legal documents in quotations and offers. Goodwill functions. Business letters promote goodwill among parties transacting business. They build a good rapport between parties in a business transaction.
This video is designed to introduce you to the basics of writing a business letter. First of all, what is a business letter? Business letter is usually written to someone you do not know. Usually that person is involved with some business or other organization. There are different reasons you might choose to write a business letter. You might be requesting information, expressing an opinion or a complaint. For instance, maybe you purchased a product from a company and it does not work as you expected it, so you're writing them a letter to tell them about your issue. You might be ordering a product, applying for a job, or trying to persuade someone to do something, such as return that faulty product from the example I gave you just a moment ago. There are 6 main parts to a business letter. The first part is the heading. The heading is made up of 2 things, your address and the date. Now, your address is going to go along the right-hand side of your letter, whereas the date and the remaining 6 parts will be lined up along the left side of your letter. The next part is the inside address. The inside address is the name and address of the business you are writing to. You may want to include the name and title of a specific person in this if you happen to know exactly who your letter needs to go to. Although in some cases, like if you're writing to a business about a product, you probably don't know the name of any specific person there. The third part is a greeting. Always starts with dear, and then a title of respect like Mr. or Ms. and a last name. Or if you don't know the person that you're writing to, you don't know their name, you can always use the phrase sir or madam. And then it's followed by a colon. Remember, a colon is the 2 dots on top of each other. Part 4 is the body of your letter. This is the biggest part of your letter, and this includes your purpose for writing. This is where you give all of your information. Part 5 is the closing. That's some polite expression, like sincerely, followed by a comma, and then your signature. It's important when signing a letter that you both sign it and you have your name printed underneath.
Inquiries. Tell me, what do you understand by the term inquiries? When business people write letters asking any information, then it is known as an inquiry letter. A large volume of the daily correspondence of a firm occupied by inquiry letters. Information can be asked regarding quality, price, and availability of the product. This type of letter also can be written by making status inquiry. Status inquiry letters seek for information regarding a person. In other words, inquiry communication is different because the point of inquiry is to understand the position of the other person or people rather than to change their minds or opinions. Features of inquiry letter. It starts with direct and polite request, asked for information, provide explanation for the requirement of information, confidentiality, specific objective, supported by reply letter, asking information within specific time, specific format on structure, formal language, cordial closing. Now let's talk about circular letters. Circular letters are sent to a large number of people. They are unsolicited letters. They usually convey information about new products, a new service, a new set of terms and conditions, the opening of a new branch, the change of address, telephone numbers, seasonal greetings, discounts, price revision, etc. Today, circular letters are printed in computers and sent. They can even be emailed to customers. They are persuasive in style and are quite lengthy. In an organization, communication flows in 5 main directions: downward, upward, lateral, diagonal, external. Downward flow of communication. Communication that flows from a higher level in an organization to a lower level is a downward flow of communication. In other words, communication from superiors to the subordinates in a chain of command is a downward communication. This communication flow is used by the managers to transmit work-related information to the employees at lower levels. Employees require this information for performing their jobs and for meeting the expectations of their managers. Downward communication is used by the managers for the following purposes: providing feedback on employees' performance, giving job instructions, providing a complete understanding of the employee's job as well as to communicate to them how the job is related to other jobs in the organization, communicating the organization's mission and vision to the employees, highlighting the areas of attention. Lateral and horizontal communication. Communication that takes place at same levels of hierarchy in an organization is called lateral communication. That is communication between peers, between managers at same levels, or between any horizontal equivalent organizational members. Quotation letters. There must be 1,001 quotes about business, many funny and many insightful. What can be best gained from a direct quotation is an insight into the person the quote is attributed to. Take Ted Turner, for example. Ted is the founder of CNN, a groundbreaker in 24 hours news. Ted is no longer in the business, having sold it to Time Warner. Instead, Ted has founded the United Nations Foundation. The foundation allows TED to introduce young entrepreneurs to the need to tackle global problems, population, child mortality, disease, maternal health, among others. These are now TED's focus. The types of the quotes. Support quotes. When we are in a crisis, we automatically vouch for support to comfort ourselves or gain some confidence. Deceased people seek support from doctors, newborns from mothers, and those that are psychologically disturbed find comfort by seeking assistance from counselors or psychiatrists. Support may also mean the activity of providing for or maintaining by supplying with money or necessities. The kind of support one needs may vary from a person to a person, but the intention in gaining help remains the same. Let's know some of the popular quotations and sayings based on sustainability. Communication quotes. Communication is one of the most important tools in human growth as it helped the modern civilization to evolve in an inventive manner. Communication has various classifications depending on their nature. Interpersonal, group and mass communications are the main leagues of communication. When a person thinks in himself, it becomes intrapersonal communication. While he interacts with another person, the mode of communication becomes interpersonal communication. Group communication is still effective in democracy because it can multiply the votes by its unique approach of motivating people. Mass communication is the messages that are transmitted through air and printed on papers to get the people entertainment and information. The growth in human life comes through proper communication. Thus, the importance of communication is as superior as any other factor that contributes high to the society. Efficiency quotes. Efficiency describes how effectively a person or a machine can perform a given task. Efficiency is not constant and varies with respect to different attributes. In science, efficiency of a system is measured as the ratio of the output to the input of any system. Efficiency also deals with how economically a task can be done. Company companions quotes. We may have all the wealth in the world, but if we do not have family and companions, then we are perhaps more helpless than the one who has the comfort of its kinsmen. Be it our best friends or the warm embrace of our pets, the only answer to loneliness is good company. That is why it is important that one has good company, as no individual can live alone and almost everyone requires the guidance and the encouragement of others. Service quotes. Someone rightly said that service is the greatest form of charity. To serve others selflessly is perhaps one's first big leap towards God's grace. Sadly, in the present day world, most people disregard the virtues of service and are more concerned with their selfish motives. However, the real form of service is selfless service, to serve others without expecting anything in return. Flick through these famous service quotations and sayings and unearth the real delight of serving. Order letter. The objective of an order letter is to provide the vendor with detailed instructions for fulfilling an order. Order letters are very important in any business. Writing order letters are both a science and an art. There are obviously many different ways to write order letters, but the ideal approach for our case depends on condition and situation. Selecting the best words is very important in writing an effective order letter. With our business writing tool, Treasure's Dictionary, we can easily find best words for enriching our writings and make our order letter effective. Using our business writing tool, Advanced Grammar and Spelling Check, they help us to eliminate grammar and spelling errors in our order letters. Always remember, order letters is not the place to try out fancy fonts or experimental writing styles. Complaints letter. Writing a letter of complaint is the best way to get the attention of management regarding a work-related problem that we cannot solve by our own self. Regardless of the circumstances that have led up our decision to write a formal letter, a skillfully written complaint letter is necessary for several reasons. First, it is an opportunity to speak freely and openly on the record about our employment experience. Second, our complaint letter bolsters our image as a professional that cares about what impact our experience will have on our employer. And third, writing a letter of complaint is a face saver for both parties. To begin with, a letter of complaint should be crafted with attention to 4 important elements. They are presented in the definite order similar to problem-solving exercises. After we have put together customary business letter elements and stated in a one-liner our regret to inform our employer of our complaint, but it drives operational improvement and overall organizational performance. Effective complaint. Management Report is a step-by-step guide to creating and implementing a successful and tailored complaint management strategy for our organization, covering key areas including the benefits and principles of effective complaint management, understanding and implementing the key elements of a complaint management scheme, complaint handling process, roles and responsibilities, promotion, publicity and accessibility, monitoring and auditing, organizational culture and commitment, complaint management models and structures, decentralized versus centralized approaches to handling complaints, regulations, legislation, standards, and the use and formation of ombudsmen and other external dispute resolution schemes, innovative approaches for engaging staff and customers in the learning process, key requirements for complaint management information and communication technology (ICT), how technology impacts in areas such as customer self-service, feedback and tracking, how to actively review and implement a business-wide complaint management strategy, future advancement in complaint management. Effective complaint management is essential reading for any organization wishing to enhance customer satisfaction, profitability and reputation through superior customer service. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. Organizing is a crucial part of the writing process because it is frequently where we find ourselves making new connections. Every organization should have to classify its outgoing mail and incoming mail and file them classified on the basis of their subject matter in a chronological sequence. A large volume of the daily correspondence of a firm occupied by inquiry letters. Information can be asked regarding quality, price and availability of the product. Communication that takes place at the same levels of hierarchy in an organization is called lateral communication, that is, communication between peers, between managers at the same levels, or between any horizontal equivalent organizational members. Communication has various classifications depending on their nature. Intrapersonal, interpersonal, group and mass communications are the main leagues of communication.